Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive with us. Today, we're going to be exploring something pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
The evolving identity of the Latinx community in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And we're really excited to kind of dig into this topic a little bit with all of you. And to do that, we're going to be referencing a book called Finding Latinx by Paola Ramos. And it's really kind of a cool and personal journey across the country.
Yeah.
Where she interviews folks from all walks of life and really illuminates this richness and diversity within this community.
Well, what's really striking about her journey is how she grapples with the term Latinx itself. It wasn't something that she readily embraced.
Right.
But after the 2016 election, she felt this shift, this need for a term that could better encompass the multitude of identities and experiences within the community.
Yeah, it's so interesting how a single word can become, so charged with meaning. Mm-hmm. Especially in a political climate where labels are often used to divide rather than unite.
Absolutely. And she argues that those traditional labels like Hispanic or Latino can feel very restrictive.
Right.
Failing to capture the full spectrum, that Latinx experience. Mm-hmm. And so she specifically seeks out voices that are often marginalized or overlooked, Afro-Latinos, mm-hmm. LGBTQ plus individuals, indigenous populations, others whose stories really challenge that idea of, a monolithic community.
And one of the places where she really dives into this complexity is in California's Central Valley.
Oh, interesting.
Which, so often we associate California with wealth and opportunity. But Ramos kind of paints a starkly different picture for many Latinos living there. And she really focuses on the plight of farm workers.
Yeah.
Who are often trapped in the cycle of poverty and exploitation.
And it really does reveal those harsh realities faced by many within the Latinx community. Ramos exposes the dangers these workers face, the widespread use of pesticides, the impact on their health and well-being. And it's a reminder that environmental justice is deeply intertwined with social justice.
And it's not just the physical dangers. Ramos also delves into the lack of legal protections for these workers,
right,
making them vulnerable to exploitation and abuse, particularly for women who often face, sexual harassment and assault. It's a really deeply unsettling reality check.
Yeah, and she connects these systemic issues to another alarming problem plaguing the Central Valley, that meth epidemic, which disproportionately affects the Latinx community.
Right.
So that lack of economic opportunity, coupled with the region's proximity to Mexico and its role in the drug trade, it creates a perfect storm that pushes people towards this destructive path.
It's heartbreaking to see how these interconnected issues create, this cycle of despair that's incredibly difficult to break free from.
Right.
And while Ramos exposes these, harsh realities, she also introduces us to individuals who are fighting for change.
Right.
Advocating for worker rights and pushing for greater awareness of the challenges faced by their community.
That's right. This theme of resilience runs throughout the book. Even in the face of adversity, there's this sense of hope and determination. For example, she shares the story of Carolina, a transgender Latina who fled to the United States seeking safety and a better life.
Yeah, Carolina's story is so powerful and also incredibly difficult to hear. She fled Mexico to escape abuse, only to face further hardship and discrimination in the U.S. She ends up homeless and eventually in ICE detention, where she endures further mistreatment. And it's just this stark reminder of the systemic failures that disproportionately impact transgender individuals, particularly those who are also immigrants.
What's particularly tragic about Carolina's story is that it echoes the experience of Roxana Hernandez, another trans Latina who tragically died in IC custody due to medical neglect. And these stories really underscore that urgent need for reform within the immigration system and a greater focus on protecting the most vulnerable members of our society.
Absolutely. And Ramos also kind of challenges those preconceived notions about the border experience.
Yeah.
We often picture Spanish-speaking migrants, but she sheds light on the often invisible presence of indigenous migrants, particularly Mayans from Guatemala, who speak their native languages and face these unique challenges navigating a system that's ill-equipped to meet their needs.
And she describes, witnessing this Mayan mother and son struggling to navigate the immigration system just due to language barriers and lack of indigenous language interpreters. It's a poignant reminder that that border experience is multifaceted and that we need greater cultural sensitivity and awareness when we address immigration issues.
And it seems like one of the key takeaways from Ramos's book is that the Latinx experience is far more nuanced and diverse than we often acknowledge. It's not this single story. It's this tapestry of stories, each with its own complexities and challenges.
Exactly, and Ramos doesn't shy away from those complexities. She dives into other pressing issues that impact the Latinx community beyond immigration, such as the HIV/AIDS epidemic and the fight for reproductive rights in the Rio Grande Valley.
Yeah, and she shares the heart-wrenching story of Rosie Jimenez, who tragically died due to an unsafe abortion after being denied Medicaid coverage. And it's a stark reminder of the barriers faced by low-income women, especially in a system where access to healthcare is often determined by socioeconomic status.
And her exploration of the colonias, those impoverished communities along the border, reveals the stark realities of inadequate housing, limited access to clean water and sanitation, and a lack of basic healthcare services. These communities are often neglected and forgotten, further highlighting the systemic inequalities that permeate the Latinx experience.
And Ramos doesn't shy away from the difficult topics.
Yeah.
She tackles the aftermath of the El Paso Walmart shooting, a hate crime that targeted the Latinx community and left a deep scar on the nation's psyche.
What's particularly poignant about her approach is that she focuses on the trauma experienced by young Latinos in the wake of this tragedy. You know they're already at a higher risk of mental health issues, yet face significant barriers to accessing the help that they need.
It's a reminder that the impact of these tragedies extends far beyond the immediate victims, creating ripple effects of fear and anxiety within the entire community. And it underscores that urgent need to address the mental health crisis within the Latinx community, particularly in the context of hate crimes and discrimination.
Ramos also delves into the experiences of first-generation Latinos navigating higher education. She shares the story of Kimberly, who faces immense pressure as the first in her family to attend college, grappling with cultural differences and a lack of guidance.
It's a reminder that for many first-generation students, success isn't just about academic ability, but about navigating a system that can feel foreign and overwhelming, often without the support systems that many of their peers take for granted.
And even when they do succeed, there are often subtle forms of prejudice and discrimination that they have to contend with, like microaggressions and the erasure of their identities. And Ramos shares Angela's story, a young Latina who felt sexualized and othered in school, constantly made to feel like she didn't belong.
And these experiences, though, often seemingly small, can have a profound impact on one's sense of self-worth and belonging. It's so crucial to recognize and address these subtle forms of prejudice, as they contribute to feelings of invisibility and can have these long-lasting consequences.
And one of the strengths of Ramos's book is that it's not all doom and gloom. She also explores the ways in which young Latinos are finding belonging and reclaiming their space, even in unexpected places.
Like when she highlights the vibrant Mayan community in Greenville, South Carolina, where children are proudly embracing their indigenous heritage, while also redefining what it means to be American. It's a powerful example of cultural resilience and the ability to create a sense of belonging, even in environments that might seem unfamiliar or unwelcoming.
And then there's the Oaxacan community in Poughkeepsie, New York, who have revitalized the town through their businesses and cultural traditions. It's a testament to the contributions that immigrants make to their communities, and a challenge to the notion that assimilation is the only path to belonging.
Yeah, these stories offer such a glimmer of hope, demonstrating that it's possible to maintain one's cultural identity while also contributing to the broader fabric of American society.
And Ramos goes even deeper by examining the complexities of identity within the Latinx community itself. For instance, she discusses the experiences of Afro-Latinos who often face erasure both within and outside of the community, highlighting the intersectionality of race, ethnicity, and culture.
And she acknowledges her own limited perspective growing up in Miami's bubble, where she didn't fully grasp the diversity of the Latinx experience until she ventured beyond its confines. It's a reminder that our own experiences can shape our understanding of the world, and that it's essential to actively seek out diverse perspectives.
She also shares the challenges faced by Puerto Rican students who relocated to Miami after Hurricane Maria, forced to navigate a new reality while also advocating for their island home. It's a story of resilience, adaptation, and this ongoing struggle for recognition and support.
It's clear that Ramos isn't afraid to engage in challenging conversations, like when she sits down with Enrique Tarrio, an Afro-Cuban who at the time was the leader of the Proud Boys, a far-right group.
This conversation is particularly thought-provoking because it forces us to confront the diversity of political viewpoints within the Latinx community and the complexities of identity. Tarrio's embrace of Trumpism, despite the harm it caused to marginalized communities, challenges our assumptions. and underscores the fact that there is no monolithic Latinx experience or perspective.
Right, it's a reminder that identity is fluid and multifaceted, and that people can hold conflicting views even when those views seem to contradict their lived experiences, or the experiences of others within their community.
One of the key themes that emerges from Ramos's book is the importance of representation and visibility. She highlights the significance of Ilia Calderon becoming the first Afro-Latina to anchor a major national newscast in the U.S.
It's a powerful moment. That demonstrates the impact of seeing oneself reflected in positions of power and influence. Representation matters, and it can inspire and empower future generations to believe that they, too, can achieve great things.
And Ramos goes beyond simply celebrating exceptional achievements. She also emphasizes the importance of recognizing the ordinary and extraordinary aspects of everyday Latinx life.
Yeah, she argues that acknowledging the everyday lives and struggles of individuals is so crucial for understanding their full humanity and for moving beyond the often narrow narratives that are presented about the community.
It's about recognizing the shared hopes, dreams, fears, and aspirations that connect us all, regardless of our backgrounds or identities.
And that's what makes Ramos's work so compelling. She doesn't shy away from the complexities or the contradictions. She embraces the messiness and the multitude of experiences that make up the Latinx identity, ultimately painting a portrait that's both nuanced and hopeful.
And Ramos, she ventures beyond the coasts, exploring Latinx communities in the Midwest, a region often overlooked in discussions about Latinx identity.
Yeah, it's fascinating how she highlights those unique challenges faced by these communities, particularly in cities like Chicago, Minneapolis, and Milwaukee, where segregation and a lack of resources often create barriers to opportunity.
But amidst these challenges, Ramos also uncovers this vibrant cultural scene where music, art, and activism are being used as powerful tools for self-expression, community building, and advocating for change.
One of the most inspiring stories from this section is about Endo, an undocumented immigrant from El Salvador who competes in the Miss Gay America pageant. It's a story that really challenges stereotypes and celebrates the courage and resilience of LGBTQ+ individuals within the Latinx community.
Ado's participation in the pageant is a powerful act of visibility and defiance. Especially in the face of anti-immigrant sentiment, it's a testament to the power of embracing one's identity and refusing to be silenced or marginalized.
His story also highlights the intersectionality of identity within the Latinx community, reminding us that there is no one-size-fits-all narrative, and that individuals can hold multiple identities that shape their experiences and perspectives.
Ramos also explores the role of music in shaping Latinx identity and fostering a sense of community. She visits the Latino Art String program in Milwaukee, where young musicians are learning to play classical music, while also connecting with their cultural heritage.
It's a beautiful example of how music can bridge cultural divides and create a space where young people can explore their identity and find a sense of belonging.
And then there's Brown's Crew, a hip-hop duo in Milwaukee, who use their music to address social issues, like immigration, segregation, and identity. Their lyrics are raw, honest, and thought-provoking, giving voice to the experiences of young Latinos in the Midwest, and challenging listeners to confront these issues head-on.
It's a reminder that music can be a powerful tool for social commentary and a catalyst for change, giving voice to the voiceless and inspiring action.
Ramos also travels to a small town in Iowa to visit a bilingual choir that has become an unexpected source of unity in a community deeply divided along racial and political lines.
It's amazing how music can transcend those divisions, creating a space where people from different backgrounds can come together and find common ground. It's a testament to the power of art to heal and connect us, even in the most polarized environments.
Throughout her book, Ramos emphasizes the need to move beyond monolithic narratives about the Latinx community. She argues that the Latinx movement is about reclaiming agency and defining identity on one's own terms, challenging the stereotypes and assumptions that have long been used to define and limit the community.
So it's about embracing the full spectrum of the Latinx experience, the diversity of backgrounds, identities, political beliefs, and aspirations, and recognizing the shared struggles and aspirations that connect people across those differences.
Ramos concludes her book with a powerful reflection on the power of language and the importance of the term Latinx. She argues that it's more than just a label. It's a statement of inclusivity, a recognition of the diversity within the community, and a call to action.
So it's about challenging the binary notions of gender and identity that have long been imposed on the Latinx community, creating a space where everyone feels seen, heard, and respected. regardless of their gender identity, sexual orientation, race, ethnicity, or immigration status.
And it's about building a movement that is truly representative of the complex and evolving reality of the Latinx experience, one that embraces intersectionality and celebrates the multitude of voices and perspectives within the community.
One of the most poignant moments in the book is when Ramos reflects on her own journey of self-discovery. She talks about growing up in Miami's bubble and how leaving that bubble allowed her to fully grasp the diversity of the Latinx experience.
It's a reminder that we all have blind spots, that our own experiences can limit our understanding of the world, and that it's essential to be open to new perspectives and to challenge our own assumptions.
Absolutely.
Ramos encourages us to embrace the complexity of the Latinx experience, to listen to the diverse voices within the community, and to recognize the shared humanity that connects us all. She reminds us that the Latinx story is an American story, a story of resilience, adaptation, struggle, and triumph.
And she leaves us with a powerful message of hope, a belief that by embracing our differences, celebrating our shared humanity, and working together, we can create a more just and equitable world for all.
You know, it feels like Ramos really takes us on such a personal journey in Finding Latte.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just reporting on the Latinx experience. It's her own evolution and understanding of what it means to be a part of this community.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes it so relatable and impactful. You know, she's not just observing from the outside. She's really grappling with these questions of identity and belonging alongside her readers. She's honest about her own, blind spots and her journey of learning and unlearning.
It's so refreshing to see that vulnerability because it makes her insights feel so much more genuine and authentic. And it really encourages us to do the same, to, examine our own assumptions and biases, to be open to new perspectives, and to engage with the complexities of identity in a more thoughtful and empathetic way.
And ultimately, that's what Ramos's book is calling for, this deeper understanding of the Latinx community, a recognition of its diversity and its contributions, and a commitment to working towards a more just and equitable society for all.
So as we're wrapping up this deep dive, I'm curious what stood out to you the most from Finding Latinx. Was there a particular story, a theme, or a moment that really resonated with you or challenged your own perspective?
For me, it was the way that Ramos centers the experiences of those who are often marginalized or overlooked within the Latinx community itself. The stories of Afro-Latinos, transgender individuals, indigenous migrants, and those living in impoverished communities along the border really highlight the intersectionality of identity and the need for a more inclusive understanding of what it means to be Latinx.
Yeah, I was particularly struck by Ramos's exploration of Latinx communities in the Midwest. It's such a good reminder that the Latinx experience is not confined to the coasts, and that there are these vibrant communities thriving and contributing all across the country.
Absolutely. And the way she weaves together personal stories, historical context, and social analysis creates this rich and nuanced tapestry that captures the dynamism and complexity of the Latinx experience.
I think Finding Latinx is a must-read for anyone who wants to understand the evolving identity of the Latinx community and its place in the broader American narrative. It's powerful, thought-provoking, and ultimately hopeful. And they will stay with you long after you finish reading it.
Absolutely. And if you're interested in learning more about the topics that we've discussed today, we highly recommend checking out Paola Ramos's Finding Latinx. It's an incredible journey of discovery that will challenge your assumptions, broaden your understanding, and leave you feeling inspired.
And if you enjoyed this deep dive, be sure to subscribe to our channel for more insightful conversations about the books, ideas, and issues that are shaping our world.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Finding Latinx. We hope it sparked your curiosity and encouraged you to continue exploring the diverse and dynamic world of Latinx identity.